So we all know, sir, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is at the United States of America, precisely at the UN General Assembly meeting. But then there are some key takeaways. Mahama aya obia eka wansem, and even the likes of BBC, CNN, everyone has his or her own take about all the issues at air course. But then this is what is really going on. Mahama recently just gave a speech. I think that was yesterday, extremely live crowd, and we told you, sir, this particular speech no make here, it had a whole lot of packed things. I think the speech was like 30 minutes or so. But the Mahama can send baby. But then now, no, excepts are air trending on social media. No, air kamya kwese. Mahama's speech, no, it was directed towards Trump, not precisely Trump per se, but directed towards people or persons like Donald Trump and also Trump. One more, it just say, on your mo, as the close ally, say Israel. Now, we were watching this particular video when President John Dramani Mahama, I will not say explicitly or inexplicitly, but then he made mention of Donald Trump, his stance on immigration. We all know that Trump came into power. He's very keen on immigration. Mobi and Bani Kronia the other. But then Mahama is saying, he said, and you be forced so be fin the crew, tin ye, and you be forced so be fin the crew, no one plane. And now one nam fem and now one far boots or could be mine so. Because the conditions are not right in the person's country. But then the question someone will ask is that if the conditions are not right in someone's country, now ufa plane akoha. How is that the US problem? It is the problem of leaders, politicians, and our leaders of more Africa. I say, share this particular video, and Mama also said something about reparations. Say slave trade ni trade still America and Europe superiors. It's a whole lot of things. Let's watch this particular video. Babaka, we will continue this particular conversation.
And so when the desert encroaches on our villages and towns and they become unlivable, we are forced to flee. Warsan Shire, a Somali-born prophet, a Somali-British poet born in Kenya to Somalian refugee parents, was London's first youth poet laureate. She writes in her poem titled Home. And it says, you have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one bends their palms under trains beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled mean something more than just a journey. Madam President, we cannot normalize cruelty. We cannot normalize hatred. We cannot normalize xenophobia and racism. If we're going to tell a story, let's not tell it slant. Let's tell all the truth. When we speak of migrants, we speak of Mami Ewusi Mensah Frimpong, a judge on the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. She's the first black female judge on any of California's 4 federal district courts. She was born here in America to immigrant parents from Ghana. We speak of Peter Bosman, a medical doctor in Ghana who moved to the town of Piran in Slovenia in the 1980s and later became the first black mayor of Piran, the first black mayor in Slovenia and in the whole of Eastern Europe. We speak of T. Michael, the iconic Ghanaian Norwegian artist and designer. And of course, we speak of the late Kofi Annan, former United Nations Secretary General. Former United Nations Secretary General and Nobel Peace Prize recipient, who was born in Ghana but spent his adulthood in various places in America and Europe. These are people who have brought great distinction to the countries that they decided to call home. Just as the migrants and the children of migrants before them did, I dare say these are not invaders. These are not criminals. Madam President, the slave
Therefore, that was what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said. Now, this particular speech, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will make here, it has caused a whole lot of reactions on social media. And some of the videos, if you want to watch the whole excerpt, I think say Yedi can stream that particular live. And now you YouTube now, but Mahama speech UN, Mahama speech UN, that is it. Now, some of the other things so Mahama for this particular ones no directly towards President Donald Trump no how the UN operates. So we have something we call veto. Veto no say okay take a decision. Na baako aka some veto in it. Na baako no aka some veto in it no. So mo 10 na baako veto powers, which means baako no aka some veto in it so mo nyina mo kan yes or no kan no a no. So basically, a party say, oh, to me, and I say, ni same will be, and I say, basically a very powerful nation. So on the UN, veto, 5 countries have the veto power, and this particular 5 countries which have the veto power, no, it be a France, okay, it be a US, it be a UK, it be a Canada, it be a China, okay. So these countries almost veto powers. Since you know, say be a court, so it will be asking now these countries almost veto powers, no. If you see now vote, say young left US bit marker say it's a more veto power need no a veto the to veto the decision will not the decision will not materialize. Mahama exercise say adintiana UN Security Council or more veto powers. They should expand the veto powers or perhaps they should demolish it. Because at the end of the day, saying a case a koha, or nipa back bit masoraka say we will not go to this direction. Now I say. Now, one other second thing too, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama also said was the denunciation of Cuba blockade. According to President Mahama, he challenged say Adintiana US as sanction Cuba. What I say because according to him, Ghanaians are friends with Cubans, but until I say the entire Cuba, which is led by Fidel Castro in Cuba. Yetimi sanction omosa, what I say, and he stated something. Say, I would like to call for the removal of the blockade on Cuba, as Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said. As Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our nation's father said, we seek to be friends of all and enemies to none. The Cuban people shed their blood on African soil in the fight against apartheid. Indeed, Cuba has been and continues to be a faithful friend of Africa. So, the Trump blocking Cuba, tariffing them, Mahama said they be. And Mahama also did touch on the US denial of visa of the president of Palestinian. Now in himself Palestine, any Gaza for any Israel for more, but Gaza partly, it houses over 2 million Palestinians. It's Mahama Nibufu said at the entire Palestinian president or by UN, not US, it denied a visa. Now, secondly, too, one of the things we are on say, Adintiana the war equals to Gaza and Israel are allowed to undertake or still continue to bomb things. Trump President Mahama said which basically Trump then such a name say. The fourth one, by the way, he criticized Mahama immigration policies and called it hypocrisy on refugees. So Mahama is saying, he said, ebi wo ho a ne kuro no asai atias e na oku obi for the crew. So but then here we are saying say we will not take refugees, especially the US. But then he's saying says see an also person go for about crew, but Ukraine Russia war on there also people should come. Mahama said a double standard. So that was the fourth one. Now the fifth one, Mahama is demanding reparations for slavery and colonialism. So Mahama party said in slavery, of course, it has really taken Ghana and also many African countries backwards. So it will be very well in America's interest and also the UK, the British, the France, when we colonize to repatriate the countries. In fact, some we are good at bring some of the good, pay us back. In fact, compensate us. Mahama made those demands. And now, also demanded for reforms and global financing. Na Mahama PICC Ghana is in a position now. Yeah, share your friend is saying how you be a bit my boy because yes, you imagine economy. But then see US as well dominate your friend is saying the global financial architecture and so far no party say no son of my yard as Africa and come boy. And Mahama also directly challenged Trump his position on climate change. So share President Donald Trump what he said about climate change. President Donald Trump said the climate change now they be a horse. A horse a propaganda no cre What you say, and because of that, he had an issue with it. So these are some of the things, Mama Kokan, yeah, we just played an excerpt of it, and yeah, they show, no, Obi Bitmaka said it is a direct thing against and a direct message to President Donald Trump. Regardless, Yanko share what he said again. Yeah, Babaka, we have an update about Baumia.
And so when the desert and